So let me just close a couple of pages. Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Hour. Today is Friday, the 6th of June, and it's 9 o'clock as usual. I remind you, especially for the new people on the call is always at 9 a.m. UK time. So when there is like daylight saving change, the time stays the same in UK time. So just always check if you're outside the UK. Always double check the time before you come on the call. Apart from that, everything is fine. Sorry, my phone was ringing. I can't take it now. Okay, let's start sharing. Now, what have you guys noticed this week in particular? Any new items? Some of them are come over in the economic calendar. Some of them have got nothing to do with the economic calendar, but they still make markets nervous. So first of all, let's go through the economic calendar as usual. I mean, it wasn't a particular extremely busy one, but there are some important news coming today. So we had manufacturing numbers that keep deteriorating slightly. So whenever it's below, so you can see the manufacturing PMI. So this is just a survey of manufacturers. And any number below 50 indicates a contraction. Any number above 50 is a expansion. Okay, so we are still the manufacturing numbers are deteriorating, not surprising with all the tariffs that have been introduced. Okay, what else? The job openings are still fairly normal, although the expected number, especially for the non-farm employment change, this is a precursor to the number that's going to be announced today, by the way, but it was a lot lower than expected, at 37,000 with an expectation over 110,000. Canadian dollar kept the interest rate the same at 2.75. These services, again, another survey of the services, this time rather than manufacturing. Again, it's showing slight contraction against an expected expansion. So obviously this will translate as well into slightly worse job figures as well, which we had yesterday. Oops, sorry. So we can see here again the unemployment numbers, they're starting to tick up now to from the 230 now almost like 250. It's not here, but on another site we have the ongoing unemployed are now starting to go up from 1.8 to 1.9 million and starting to tick up as well, which was expected as well. And today is probably the most important from the point of view of the market. So if you do trade the markets, be careful. At 1:30 p.m. UK or 8:30 a.m. US, we have the non-farm employment change. Okay, which it's a snapshot of the job market, but it generally can move the market quite a lot, especially if the number, the actual number differs not so much from the previous months, but from the expected figure. Now, the figure expected is 127,000. We'll see what the reported figure is. And not necessarily the announcement from Tuesday. Where is that? Where was that? The ADP. One from Wednesday, the ADP non-farm employment change. Okay, so this is, by the way, on Forex Factory, if you click on the file icon, it tells you a little bit about this, the release. Okay, so this is an early look at employment growth, a couple of days ahead of the government release employment data. So this is a private sector data. But again, the number is pretty much like 1/3 of what was expected. So often the numbers in the non-farm employment change are completely different from the one from the ADP numbers they are announced before. But if the same thing will carry over here with numbers around 40, 50,000 instead of 127, then it could be an immediate adjustment. And you will see in a lot of forex pairs, especially including the dollar, gold, Bitcoin. So all these assets would adjust immediately to the new numbers with movements that can be very violent. So be very careful if you have positions opens in the market around that time. What I suggest, whenever there are major announcements like this, or interest rate announcements, something like this, and you are trading the market, make sure you close any short-term position at least 15 minutes before, and you don't enter any new position at least 15 minutes after the announcement. Okay, when the market comes down a little, because you cannot, so you just like imagine if you're like a small boat in a storm doing those that half an hour, and you're not equipped with the speed or with the size to deal with those sort of markets. So it can literally blow you away. All right. So you be careful. Now, from a different point of view, I don't know how many of you have followed the spat between Elon Musk and Trump. So if I just bring it on X, let's go on Elon Musk. So because basically it's been his tweets, so he's now left the Trump administration, and he's actually gone all out against Trump, against the bill that they're trying to pass in the the legislative, the big and beautiful bill. So this is what is being, if America goes broke, nothing else matters. I mean, I wouldn't trust, Elon Musk with his understanding of the economy in particular. But he's been the interesting thing is that he's been tweeting about this now pretty much like constantly. So if the country goes insolvent, if all the money just spent on paying interest on debt, there's no money left for anything. I mean, this is not true because the country just carries on printing money. But there are examples where countries have gone bankrupt. Okay, so it's not completely out of the equation, but it's not realistic for a country of the size of the US. But the other thing as well is that he has said that that Trump was involved in a big scandal. Like this, the relationship between Trump and Epstein is well established. Trump flew on Epstein's plane at least 7 times, though it's not clear he ever went to the island. Okay, so it's really kind of like all out, really no punches are left left behind. So he's going all out against Trump. Okay, and this is kind of the last tweet, literally from 14 hours ago. Is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle? Okay, so this is just like just one of them to say yes. So obviously, this is the people that listen to him. 80% says yes, and 19% no. So and just bear in mind that Trump went to power on the on the horse of social media. Now X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, is one of the largest social media, especially for news out there. And Musk being controlling that media, and he's used it actively to get President Trump elected, it can cause quite a few problems for Trump. And Trump said also, to save money, the first thing we should do is just stop funding all the Elon Musk programs for SpaceX. So it's something that is going to affect a lot of assets as well, because Tesla, SpaceX, and other technology company represent a big chunk of the S&P 500 and of the Nasdaq. So it's not just between Musk and Trump, but is also something that the markets are very nervous about. The Magnificent Seven hold up the majority of the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq as well. So something makes people nervous. And one thing to be said is that the hedge funds are mainly now. I'm not buying the Magnificent Seven. They haven't for a few weeks now. Shows you the nervousness of the markets at the moment. So, and especially when the market has been, so this is the S&P 500. We're going on a weekly basis. So as you can see, there has been quite, markets have been very reluctant to move any higher, although we had a drop and we've gone back, but it's this area here that has been
set up.
Has been a kind of like an obstacle at the moment for moving. So a lot of players in the market are thinking that we are kind of like overextended, overbought. This is the terms they use in trading, and they're feeling very nervous about putting fresh money into this market at this time. Okay, so there has been, even now you can see the market had a very sharp sell-off in March. We now have gone back pretty much to the highs, but as soon as we start approaching this area, can you see how nerves are coming in? You see how much activity there is in that area, trying to goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. So there is a lot of selling pressure up here because if you think about it, you as an individual investor may be thinking now, shall I buy or not? If you bought somewhere down here, your thoughts are slightly different. Is that when am I going to take my profits? And every time the market approaches the all-time high, you're thinking, well, this is a good place where to take my profits and reconsider it. Maybe I'll buy back once there's another sell-off. So it is a kind of like a nervous period, and during nervous periods, what happens as well? You get gold to the you can see keeps pretty much from 2022 as now has had an incredible run. Wait, what's the percentage number there? I was trying to get to the percentage number. So this is my cheat, by the way. So I'll just point 2 points with this tool, and you can enable the percentage on there. So it's been like 117% to the top when it reached the top at 3,500. At the moment, we're sitting about 110. It's an incredible thing. So that tells you as well how why crypto, we're talking about, this is the crypto hour, so why crypto is relevant right now. So there is when an asset like gold, which is not an investable asset in a way, it's a safety asset, starts having this kind of increases in value, it tells you everything about also the expectation in the value exchange that we are using every day, which is money, the currencies that we use every day. And so this is why gold has become so powerful over time. And if we look at recently, something that finally has made a move is silver. So look at this week's move in silver. Okay, so silver hasn't had, although it's still had a serious growth since 2022, like the same way the gold did, hasn't been quite as intense, and it's still within, although it's now close to similar results to gold, but it's just recently started to make waves, in a sense, to make a new high. Okay, gold has been printing new highs all the time, silver is just now going back to historical levels. And let me just go to the futures actually, because this only goes back to 2020. Okay, so it's a what we call it like a local high at the moment, but we're still like very far away from all-time highs in silver that when go back to 2011, which was over almost like $50 an ounce. We're now at $36, and I do expect silver to carry on and until it reaches this point here around $40. So it's at the moment is one of the assets to look at, and in a way this was the this was the point that I was trying to shoot for, but it's kind of never quite went back to that point. At the moment is would be a good place to start looking for opportunities to buy back into silver. And we might not get a once it starts going, it's kind of like an easy 10% here from 35 to at least 38, 39. So it might just go very quickly as it has done yesterday. But if it does have a retracement, then we can try and get into the retracement, like in this area here. This looked like an interesting demand zone. We don't know if the price is going to go back to about, this is just below $35, but if it does, it looks like an interesting place to get back onto buying silver with little risk, with a lot of upside potential. Okay, another opportunity that you have is, because there is a lot of upside, and again, sometimes it can just go and never come back. This is where options can also come into play. Kind of like you can buy silver and buy yourself a protection on the downside. You can buy an option like that protects you, like for example, 6 months down the line at a cost of maybe 2.5–3% protection. So if the price goes back down, you make money on the option. If the price goes up, you make money on the asset that you bought, like silver. But that's the potential to play both ways. But definitely, I would say it's got a lot of upside, because there's nothing here in the way really of silver before we get to actually to about the $40 mark. Now, going on to crypto and looking at, we had a little bit of a sell-off in the crypto market, as we seem to be doing on a ongoing basis. So where are we? So we hit the all-time high on the 22nd of May. Since then, we had a little retracement. Why do we have a retracement? Because everybody's in profit. Okay, that's what an all-time high means, that everybody bought at a lower price than that. Unless you are the unluckiest person in the world that bought Bitcoin right at the top. So it's interesting to look at the what is called the realized price for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin and Cardano and other blockchains that use the UTXO model can track every single purchase. So we know exactly what price every single Bitcoin was last transacted. Okay, so we can track what is the average price of a Bitcoin. So we know what the market price is, which is at the moment is 103,419. But what is the average price of buying Bitcoin? Can anybody guess? We're looking at a weekly. Let's look at our weekly chart. Can anybody guess where we are now? Because that can represent as well, when you think about it, can represent the flow of the chart, because people are unlikely to sell at a loss. Okay, so the point where the average Bitcoin buyer is at a loss can represent a bottom, a market bottom for the worst case scenario. So anybody can tell me what the average is, the average price of Bitcoin is at the moment? We'll put a line somewhere and I'll move it.
105.
I'll move it to wherever you tell me. Can anybody tell me? Guess, just have a guess. Come on, unmute yourself and guess.
Well,
Guys, numbers, I need numbers. 77K, Gary. No, that's a little bit high. So you say 77K, I will say lower.
60,000.
60,000. Not quite. Keep going. Okay, do I take you out of your misery?
35,000.
No, okay. The actual average price is around the 46,000 mark. Okay, so 46,000. This is interesting because it takes us back to where are we? So it takes us back to the this kind of like bottom, which is the first impulse that we had when the ETFs were launched in January. So this was this day here, this candle. Okay, so it went back from to a low of about 38,000, and then you had a high of about 48. But it takes us back to that area, and you can see how if I move this up, you can see at the top of that move is the bottom of the next one. So there was already a floor around 49,000 of the current move. Okay, but we can differentiate also in Bitcoin between long-term holders and short-term holders. The long-term holders are classified as any coin that hasn't moved in the last 155 days or longer, and short-term holders are below that. So it's interesting to see that the long-term holders, and we can have a look at the long-term holder average. Where are we? Address okay. The long-term holder value at the moment is around the 33,000 mark. Where is this? It's sorry, let me just I was looking for a specific chart. I can't remember where I put that. Okay, so there are look, I'll tell you by memory, because I can't find exactly where are these charts. So the long-term holders, so these are people that they are held Bitcoin for at least 6 months, is around the 33,000 mark. So it's down here. Where more interesting, if we look at the current price action, and go back to our daily chart so we can have a little bit more detail. Can you see this demand here between 97 and 93,000? So this is like a demand structure, which I am watching because I'm thinking, we had a sell-off. If the sell-off continues in the next couple of days, we can go and tap this area, which I would expect, to be honest with you, I would expect this sell-off to stop and to start picking back up. I mean, at the moment, today we're going back up. We're going from 100,000 to already 103.5. But if we carry on going down, this is where I would expect the market to stop and at least have a push up. And so if you look at these, the short-term holders, the average price for short-term holders is about 96,000. So you see how this lines up. Okay, so that means that anybody that bought Bitcoin in the last 155 days has paid roughly about 96,000 for their Bitcoin on average. Okay, so some people would have paid less, some people would have paid more, because if you bought Bitcoin in April, then you would have paid below 80,000. If you bought it in May, you would have paid over 100,000, etc., etc. But you see how these kind of like the points that you see, the chart tells your story already. And this is what we call like technical analysis. The idea of technical analysis is that everything that happened it's already printed in the chart. You just have to learn to read it, just like a document, you learn to read it. So the reason why we look at these things is to have more than one confirmation, more than one reason to do something. Because if we want to invest, we want to have a higher chance of making money when we put our money somewhere rather than losing money. So we want to have more than one confirmation that things are going are going our way. But there's another number that it's actually quite interesting, which is it's a ratio, okay, which they call the NVRV Z score. And so this is a function of the difference between the total market cap and realized market cap. The total market cap is the current value, you know, of Bitcoin, say in this case, multiplied. So how much is one Bitcoin worth multiplied by the number of Bitcoin of circulation. And the realized market cap is how much has the average buyer paid for the Bitcoin divided by the standard deviation of the market cap. Okay, now it gives you this figure here, this number, which, as you can see, historically has gone from negative to about negative below 0 to a maximum of about 10. Okay, and we can see that this has been, you know, quite good, at least pinpointing the absolute tops of the market, but also when the market is grossly overbought or oversold. So the values around say below 1, I would say, has been where the long-term holders are accumulating. And so you can see where the bottom of the markets like 2022 and 2019. This is where the market, the long-term holders were accumulating Bitcoin, and these high values like 2013, 2017, 18, 2021, they represented the top of the market. So what values did we see? Obviously, as you see, this value are gone with each cycle. They're gone down because becoming like a more mature asset. But we still not anywhere near a local top. So we can imagine a value of 6 and above should get us nervous. We'll start looking to find the best place to sell a Bitcoin, then buy back later. And at the moment, we still have values at, where are we now? 2.3, 2.4, and I would say possibly value of between 6 and 7 is where we might top out in this cycle. So what does mean? If this is a value at 2.4, so if we bring the calculator up, so let's do it together. What's the price of Bitcoin today? Bitcoin today is at 103,450. Okay, go back to it. Where was my calculator? So we have of 103,450 divided the value of that score was 2.45 at the moment, times 6. We'll do it times 6 first, and then we'll do it times 7. So doing it times 6 takes us to 253,000. Okay, we do the same thing. 50 divided 2.45 times 7, and 295,000. I'm not saying every week I'll try to show you a different way to come to an expectation, and the more methods you can use, you know, the more you can come to a sort of expectation. This is why everybody's talking, you know, just like, you know, if you start looking at YouTube and go at different people that talk about crypto, they all come to a kind of like a value around this cycle between 250 and 300,000, and this is why. So these are using not expectation, but using on-chain numbers. So numbers of people that actually put their money where their mouth is. So people that have bought Bitcoin at certain prices, they are sold Bitcoin at other prices. Okay, using these methods, we come to these sort of expectations. So at this time, we've had every time the market is approaching a new high, we have in a sell-off. So we had the first sell-off that was quite shallow, the second sell-off that took us to about 75,000, where I probably expected where we'll see a local bottom now for this cycle, at least until we hit the the bear market, at least 6 months down the line. But still, you see, the third time we are going through like a sell-off now that I don't know, at the moment it looks quite shallow. What I am looking at here, I'm sorry that I'm going a lot onto charts today, but it is relevant. So if you look here, so this is, I'm looking not so much at the extreme that price has reached on any particular day, which is this, the little fine lines, which is called the shadow or the wick, but at the point of where the market has closed. So this was the previous, let me change the color of this one. We do it in, let me do it in yellow. Okay, so this was the previous low, or this, so the market went up, went down again, and then went back up. So we haven't quite managed to break that with a close below this point. And this is what I'm looking at. So if at the moment, if this carries on and we have a positive day, then I would expect the market to keep pushing up a little. But if we have a day that closes below this, so below this, basically the 100,000, to make it easy for you guys, below 100,000, then I would expect it to then go another 3,000-4,000 below until we get into this range between 97 and 93. Okay, but at the moment, for me, is this looks, even looking at the gradient. If you see at the gradient on the way up and the gradient on the way down, can you see that this angle here is a lot steeper than this one? Okay, so that tells me that this looks like, it doesn't look like a strong movement on the downside, it just simply looks like a correction. Okay, so like we have an impulse, which is a move up, and we have a correction. Then what do we expect? So the only question we can ask ourselves is, okay, how deep is this correction is going to be? But what is the other expectation is that at some stage, we are going to get another, from the bottom of this move, we are going to get another move of this type. Okay, and this is the number. So again, you see how we always come to the same numbers. So I always told you that for me, the next proper move, not like here we've been trickling over by 1,000 or two and then retracing. The next proper move will take us around 130,000 range. Okay, so in this case here, we're looking at 137. If we were to touch back into this green area, it would take us back into the low 130s. But we're still in that ballpark, 130, 135, around that figure. Now, things to support these sort of numbers, kind of like news, apart from these lines and things that we'll be looking at. There are quite a few things that are starting to show how the institutional sector is moving into Bitcoin. Now, these are first an investment group like Cantor Fitzgerald is very fairly well known. They started a Bitcoin lending service. So this is not so much aimed at you or me, but it's aimed at institutional owners of Bitcoin. So now companies that own Bitcoin can use the Bitcoin as a collateral to get the lending, and just imagine, you're a company, so you're a company that's got normal operations, and you want to invest into new equipment, for example. You don't have the cash to buy, and you need to get finance. So you got your Bitcoin. You could sell part of your Bitcoins and buy the equipment, or you could keep your Bitcoin, get a loan out at commercial rates, which might be, I don't know, 6%, maybe 7%, and keep your Bitcoin. So 1 year down the line, you paid 7% of interest. Well, if Bitcoin has gone up 30%, you can just sell a little bit of your profit that you made. You still got your Bitcoin, you got your equipment, and you got some money on top. Can you see how why this is attractive? Because in a way, it's from one side, there are people that can leverage the digital assets, and there are many companies now that not just Tesla and MicroStrategy, but there are many more companies that have been buying Bitcoin as part of the as part of the cash reserves. But also from the point of view of Bitcoin holders, they are now able to generate some yield as of having their Bitcoins. So somebody may not want to do anything like that, may not want to, take a loan out, but they may want to lend out to somebody else, to then generate maybe on top of keeping your Bitcoin, and generate maybe 2, 3, or 4% yield in a year paid out in Bitcoin. It's an attractive proposition. And this is another interesting thing that was highlighted by Charles Hoskinson. But this is an interview to Gavin Wood, which is one of the founders of Ethereum, and also when he left, then he became the founder of Polkadot. So Polkadot is known. So their whole selling point was in getting blockchains to talk to each other. So it's talking about this as crypto is turned into a football league. So instead of trying to collaborate as in a new industry, it's all like fighting one against the other. So for each ecosystem, it's either you're with us or you're against us. Instead, what should be like a technical collaboration, it's become like a game of protocol loyalty. So you have the Ethereum maxis, and you got the Bitcoin maxis, and you got the Cardano, the Polkadot, or anything else. So or Solana maxis or whatever. So everybody thinks, okay, my coin is the best coin, everything else is worthless. Now, the future though, for attracting the big bucks, the trillions of dollars in value that's held all over the world in property, in stocks and shares, in bonds, etc., we need a different kind of system, a system where kind of a Wi-Fi moment where it doesn't really matter what you hold, you can still go out anywhere and use it, either spend it or use it as collateral, or do whatever you want with it. And this is the kind of usability that we're talking about, and we were discussing last week with Jonathan, about the Midnight chain that's being launched by the founder of Cardano, where anybody could participate, and it doesn't really matter what chain and what language they use. They could use that language to program, and you can use their token to pay fees, and they wouldn't need to do difficult passages of locking your funds in a way and wrapping them and using them on another chain that has got a lot of vulnerabilities. But it could be the moment that brings crypto with the same utility that fiat currencies have, basically. So this is important, and now different people are talking about the same thing. It's just that not everybody has a solution for it, where it looks like Cardano may be. And it's showing in the corporate sector now, with really big players that are starting to come to Cardano. This is another one. This is a centralized exchange in Norway, and the first public Bitcoin treasury company in Norway. And they will utilize the Cardano ecosystem and they use Bitcoin as collateral to issue USDN, which is a stablecoin on Cardano, and generate yield within the Cardano ecosystem. Okay, so this is showing you that Cardano is now positioning itself, through the connection with Bitcoin as the de facto Bitcoin DeFi layer, and allowing Bitcoin holders to then use their Bitcoin in DeFi from a secure perspective and generate yield on their Bitcoin. Okay, and this is one of the first examples of this being used in reality. Now, again, just to put into perspective, so this is simply, you're generating stable coins, but the difference is you can either have US dollars in your wallet, you have a bunch of notes, paper notes, or you can have it in digital format and it generates a yield for you simply by holding it and doing nothing with it. So and then if on top of that you use it for other things as well, you can generate even more yield. So it is a really a competitor to the banking sector, because the banking collect money to then make money on at really, really minimal rates, and they lend it out at rates that are a lot higher. Now, if instead of locking your money in a bank, there's got a lot of oversight over your funds, you can do it yourself and generate much higher returns. Money talks. And then unless the banks can compete with that, they will slowly but surely start losing market share. Another thing about Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin in Romania, they installed in our cryptocurrency terminals in post offices. Okay, so this is the state-controlled postal service operator, Posta Romana. So several of its post offices will feature cryptocurrency terminals in partnership with the company BTR Exchange. And they already have the first terminal that's operational. So offering users the possibility to deposit cash to top up their accounts on the Bitcoin Romania platform. And then they will say they will install more terminals in other post offices in other locations. So that is showing you how, even like state operators, are now getting in on this game, because it's not a niche thing anymore. Everybody's talking about it and everybody wants to participate because there's a demand. Simply wherever there's a demand, then you'll find solutions being provided. Because somebody's willing to pay, to pay for those solutions. So it's a really nice place to be, and so all these things are then, printed on the charts. Okay, remember that short term, and the short-term holders are the ones that are driving the market. Really, I've got like a cost basis of around 96,000. Okay, on average. So at the moment, even if we had a sell-off, the average Bitcoin short holders, it's at a profit. Some people, obviously, the lower the price goes, and the more people will be sitting on a paper loss rather than a gain. But it's I would say at the moment, short term, we're looking at this around the 96,000 figure as a I would say local temporary bottom. The other thing I wanted to just quickly tell you before we get a few questions, the long-term holder value at the moment standing at about 33,000. It's going up because obviously all the new transactions are done at this price now at about 103,000. It's going up on average by about $40-50 a day. So if we think about the previous cycle topped up at the end of November, so we are pretty much like 5 months away, 150 days at on average $50. We're talking about another 7,500 roughly. So at the top of that cycle, the long-term holders would have been holding Bitcoin at an average price of 40,000. So that should be seen pretty much as the the bottom of the market, which will coincide pretty much with the to when the sorry the ETFs were launched. Okay, in January of last year, which is this point here. You can see the lowest point we've been since the launch of the ETF, which was just like about a couple of weeks later, was 38,000. So I will say, I mean, I would stake down my thing here that this will be a hard stop for any bear market that we might encounter, even if we might not even go that far. But like the previous cycle, we were at lower about 15,000. I will say that this cycle we won't go below 40,000, even at the bottom, the lowest point of the cycle. And multiplying, I would say roughly the MVRV. So what price could it reach? Say Bitcoin could reach when we get to the top. We're looking at that ratio they were looking at before. If we make that multiplication, we get to the same number of about between 250 and 300,000. Okay, so let's stop sharing. Let's get any questions. Let me see if there's anything in the chat box. Okay, Eric, do you buy silver physical? Personally, no, I don't. I buy futures, either futures or if you got like a forex account, you can buy in the cash market. But it's still from your brokerage account. I don't buy physical silver because silver is quite, it's not like gold. It's not as dense as gold, so there's a storage problem as well if you want to buy as an investment and you buy quite a bit of it. Ray, any new ETFs due to be released this year? Luca, is literally on hundreds, if not thousands, of ETFs every year. So your opinion about investing in bonds at this time? Okay, good question. And I'll show you. I need to go back to the chart. At the moment is a fantastic time to buy bonds. That's my short answer. But if we go, cafe. Sorry, let me just go back to the futures. Okay, so this is the 20-year yield. Okay, for the weekly, so we can see. Okay, which at the moment is standing just below 5%. We topped up at about 5.16. What do we see here historically? Historically, this has represented an absolute top for the market. Okay, so the highest we've ever had is 5.39%. Okay, now, so at the moment, there's two things. First of all, you buy bonds at this time. So in particular, this is a 20-year government bonds yield. So this is the yield. You buy the ETF, which is the TLT. This is American bonds, by the way. Okay, so if you buy the TLT at the moment, this is roughly the interest that you receive at this moment. This is about 4.88%. So I would say any point, if you can buy a TLT for a yield of 5% or above, it's a steal at the moment. And the price, obviously, so if you look at the TLT, will look absolutely like an inverted graph of this. Okay, which is the same thing. So at this point, we just touched. Can you see here? We're going back to 2007 to get levels that low. Okay. So the moment that is that we've just touched right now, and we touched again in October 2023, it's the best price you could have got in kind of this particular TLT, which is a 20-year bond ETF in the last 18 years. If you don't think that this is the good time to buy bonds, then I don't know which one it is. Okay, and what happens is that as the yield goes down, the price goes up. Okay, so as they still haven't started, reducing interest rates, by the way. But the yield is not just the official interest rates, is what the market thinks that long term the interest rates will be. So is what is the rate that that the market is willing to lend money for 20 years to the government for. At the moment we've seen is 4.88%. But obviously, as the Fed reduces the interest rates, this will come down. At the moment there's a premium because the interest rate is at 4.5, the yield is at 4.8. So there is a premium on that because there isn't enough trust, on the government. But still, it's still a function of what the official rate is. So as the official rate comes down, then the yield as well will come down. And we have seen that historically, it's at this point is when the market has shown that there is a lot of demand for buying yields. Thank you. So there is a lot of demand. There is a lot of demand at this point. So if you are thinking of buying bonds, I think it's a fantastic time to secure yourself at the moment while you're holding it a yield of around 5%. So you can hold it, by the way, forever if you want. And then as the yield starts going down, the capital value of your bonds will start going up. So and we see that historically, when you look at this, when is the where has price spent the most time, would you say? I would say something around roughly about this range. It was there, historically since 2009, probably that was the range where price spent the most time. So we're looking at the moment at $86.70 in. Is that right? Yeah. Remark, yeah, $86.70 with an expectation maybe in a year's time to reach, 112 to 120. So what's that in percentage term in government bonds? We're talking about 35%. So I would say not a bad time to buy bonds. Yeah, hopefully that sorry, specific crypto-based ETFs to be released. So yeah, there's plenty on the in the pipeline, but no, nothing has been released yet. So there's been, the first one should be a Litecoin ETF to be released, and then all the others are still. The Litecoin ETF is ready as a ticker as well, but it hasn't been launched. And the other ones are in the pipeline. So XRP, Solana, Cardano, Doge, so there's plenty, Avalanche, plenty there, but probably they will be approved in the last quarter of the year. I know that Cardano in particular has the last date by which they either have to approve or deny is I think it's 28th of October, around that date. But each ETF has got its particular timeline, and they got some dates where the SEC can just like postpone the result approval or denying the ETFs, and then they got a final date when they have to give a definite answer. And that for Cardano is the end of October. For other coins, may be slightly different. Okay, so guys, I think we come to the end of the call. I wish you all a fantastic weekend. Now, be careful if you trade. Be careful today around 8:30 a.m. in the US, as there is the non-farm payroll that is released. But apart from that, be well, be happy, buy Bitcoin, buy Cardano, buy everything you can, mortgage everything. No, this is not. No, sorry, I didn't mean that. Okay. But definitely is a good time to buy crypto right now. Okay. Bye everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye bye.
Bye, Luca.
Sorry, Jonathan, I just put in the chat box the Cardano Q&A session will start in a few minutes. I'll just give you a few seconds more if you. I would highly recommend that you attend it. And the link is in the chat box, so we'll give you a few more seconds to save the link. And I will see you again next week.